Hey there. It's been quite a minute since I've posted. And so there've been a lot of changes in my life and in my career and in my calling that I just thought I'd come on here and just update you and kind of just get out of my mind what's kind of been going on with the collective and the ascension energies and how that affects me as a psychic, as someone who has been called to help bridge the gap between the awakened and those who are awakening in this paradigm, in this matrix reality. And so that's kind of big, that's kind of grand, but we're going to bring it back down to the personal level. Hi, my name is Tasha Salinas. Welcome to my channel. I'm an ascension guide. I am a channel of divine wisdom. And good Lord, this channel is simply about, this YouTube channel is simply about my life as a conscious being and what that's like. And you're going to hear about the Bible. You're going to hear about a lot of esoteric teachings, Gnosticism. Yeah, I just kind of tap into all kinds of different energies. So, anyway, my update, my personal update is that, first of all, I spent a week in Vegas, and that was with a program that I'm with, and that was a couple weeks ago. And honestly, it was amazing. It was stagecraft training, and I'm not going to go too much into detail with that, but not only was it training, but I also had opportunity to speak on multiple different stages. It was a phenomenal opportunity. I wanted to go to Vegas because A, I had never been, and they always call it Sin City. Well, for me, what sin is simply believing a lie about oneself. Anything that is not a belief that's in divine alignment with the truth of who you are, with the truth of who God is sin. It's believing something other than the absolute truth. Okay. So Sin City, okay. Like, what does that mean? I've never been. And a friend of mine was like, oh, it's all illusion. It's all illusion. Like the strip is this or whatever. But she said, it's a desert. And so just kind of keep that in mind. And so it hit me. When I was out there, I learned that a lot of things that we see are illusion. And so that's why it's so important that we develop our discernment and our inner knowing of ourselves so that we can make an accurate summation of what's going on around us. So it was an amazing trip, honestly, but it wore me slick. And I was activated. And what I mean by activated is that we're consciously and constantly ascending and upgrading as beings, as souls. Like this is the time of the great awakening. And so what I mean by activation is that I know that I'm one of the tip of the spear. Like many of you guys, if you're watching this, you know me from my world, or you know me from maybe some of the things that I've said, or even you're drawn to me by my energy, and that means you too are the tip of the spear. But I've been given the ability to bring in higher dimensional wisdom and higher level knowledge to really able to be able to articulate that. And what that means, what ascension means and what activation means is there's different things of me that have to die off or break off, or facets of my psyche that I get to transcend. And so I'm aware of this process. And I don't know quite when I came into it because it's a whole journey. Like for me, it wasn't like a grand awakening, but it was, but it isn't. It's a journey. So I was activated. Not only did I get the flu, okay, while I was in Vegas, but every single thing about me I questioned. And I didn't like, it wasn't like this panic, this doubt, but I'm just like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Am I here to craft an illusion about who I am? Am I here to speak my authentic self from a stage as a stage master would? What is the art of stagecraft? And so I learned so much about my natural energy and how my natural energy runs as the instrument of a speaker, not necessarily just a speaker by vocation. And I got to see that big like juxtaposition of who I am, my calling, my voice, and my reason for being. And so while I know who I am, I got to face all of these different reflections of myself. And it's very interesting because there's one picture that I probably should drop in the comments, but I don't know if I have it in me. But it's me in a maze, a mirror maze, looking at myself, but then all the infinite reflections. And I just think that's a beautiful picture. literally, but a beautiful picture, beautiful representation of the matrix of this reality and how when we know who we are, we know all of the reflections and we know how to not be swayed by these reflections. So that was Vegas. And then I was sick. So I come home sick as a dog. I'm talking 103 point something or other. I may have even kissed close to 104. I don't know. Like, you never know how accurate those things are. And so I thought I was a He-Man and I was like, I'm going to power through with no pain meds. And I caved a few times. But when I say I was sick, sure, it was the flu, I think. I had never been tested or whatever. I did take an old COVID test that was negative. So I just still think it's the flu. The point is there are times where I was sweating and I would like wake up, I'd fall asleep, fever dream, right? And fever sleeps, fever naps, maybe that's what they're called, but and my clothes would be drenched. And not only that, they would smell putrid. And so I didn't have like, I was asleep or groggy or just feeling like crap when you're sick. And I kept getting the message that like you're purging out these toxins. And now hindsight's 2020, the toxins I think I was purging out with that activation with the flu. Yes, my physical body was going through ascension symptoms that we want to call the flu. But I think the toxins that I was sweating out of my body and purging out of my body and coughing out of my lungs were all of the manifestations of the beliefs of who I am not. When I was in Vegas, again, I saw a clear divide between who I am and who blah, 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 who my mind or my thoughts could create me to be. But that's not who I wanted to be. I really got to see who I am. And so then when I came back, I was sick in bed. And then I was supposed to go to Miami because I made it very high in the Great American SpeakOff season 3. And I'm going to tell you about that. And that's kind of the teaser. I probably should have started with that, but whatever, I'll put it in the title. Point is it was a national speaking event and it was to be in Miami. So I had Vegas, a week in Vegas, a week home, and then I was going to be in or at Miami for like 3 days. Friday, before my flight was to leave Sunday. On that Friday, I woke up feeling a little better. Like, every day started feeling better and better. So by Friday, I was like, hold on. I'm not supposed to fly. I'm not supposed to go. I'm like, okay, just hold on. Because I was supposed to leave in 2 days for this national speaking competition. The numbers that they throw out there are just all over the place, but out of multiple thousands of people, 40,000 people is what they were telling us, but 40,000 auditioned down to 200, down to 20, down to 10. And what that meant is I got to go speak at Cardone Enterprises. And so anyway, what does that mean? I'm not supposed to fly. Like, am I not supposed to go? Am I not supposed to do this? And if that's what my soul was saying, I was going to listen. And it's not that I didn't want to, but I was just like, this is feeling a little contrary to like the way that I was going. And so it's one of those things where you want to completely just blindly trust yourself, but I didn't have it in me. So I called my sister and she had the greatest idea ever. And she said, set a time limit because if you're going to drive, you need to like plan that immediately. If you're not going to drive, just set like a 10 a.m. of that same day or whatever time limit. Well, I did. And as soon as I set the timer, I knew that I was supposed to drive from my state, Oklahoma, all the way down to Florida. So long story short, I drove. And I activated very quickly. And on the road, it was the most nourishing thing because let me tell you this. I teach being in the moment. Like that is the secret to eternity. You collapse time when you stop counting and measuring time and how long and it's been and I don't have and creating more of this divisiveness. Time is only a construct for this dimension or this density. And so when we are fifth dimensional, fifth density beings, and we live in this world, but not of this world, in terms of how we engage with the laws of this dimension, time, then suddenly we can kind of pause it. So it was a 22-hour drive, a little over 22 hours, and I didn't really feel it because I think I needed the time for my soul to be with myself and my body and my mind and my psyche and just to like unfurl from what had happened. So it was kind of neat. I had like 5 songs on repeat, not intentional songs really, but ones that like put themselves on my lap right before the trip began. And it was neat because they're not even songs like in my normal genre or whatever, just kind of all over the place, but they each had a specific message. And then I just got so much intuitive insight and downloads about who I am, about what I'm passionate about. And so I could probably land the plane, no pun intended, but I'm not. Because what going out there to speak at this thing, and I'll tell you here in a minute, but what it did is it helped me once again see more about my trajectory as a channel of divine wisdom. So let me start over and tell you about the speaking competition. So yes, I made it to the semifinals, the last of the last of the last of the last. And so I don't want to go too far into details, but when I tell you that we were given 2 minutes to speak, one time, one opportunity to speak for 2 minutes. And I got like 3 or 4 opportunities just because favor happened in my way. But after that first opportunity to speak and I saw how that was going to go down, I actually withdrew my heart. I didn't feel it. It didn't feel aligned. And so the second time I got up to speak, I just went for broke. I didn't use my hook. I didn't do any of it. I did touch on my message, but I went for the jugular because that was a wild card round that nobody got except for me and one other person. And so instead of my hook and my structured talk, I got up there and I said, "You are a divine being. And the only thing preventing you from knowing that you are a divine being is the belief that you're not divine, that you're just a wounded sinner, a broken human. No, you are a perfect being born into a broken society with the explicit intent of transcending it, knowing yourself, knowing your power, and absolutely playing the game." When you know the game, you can't be played. And that's what ascension is. That's what enlightenment is. That's what being an ascended master is. That's what Jesus taught, and that's who we are. All that to say, that was my second time talking. So then, we all break for lunch and all this stuff, and it doesn't really matter. I'm sorry. I spoke first, we broke for lunch, then I got my second opportunity. And I was like, I'm done. I felt so satisfied because I said what I wanted to say the first time. Second time, I said what I wanted to say. And then they split the top 10. And so all that to say, Grant Cardone and his wife walks in, and it was a big deal. I didn't understand. This isn't my world. This isn't something that I had been into. I only heard about him and this whole everything because of the speak off that I on a whim signed up for last year. So anyway, I did not make the top 10 at that point. And so they go through the 10 and they're like really critiquing them. They're polishing them and refining these speakers and making them good because they're going to speak at GrowthCon 2025. Phenomenal. We've got some top tier talent. And so if that's your realm or that's your arena, or if you're thinking about going to GrowthCon, go ahead and go. You're going to hear some amazing speakers. But as for me, I was done. But I got to stick around and stay in the room and watch all that. And so we had all spread out and I sat in the back because I was again done. So then they're done with the 10 and all this. And Grant like looks at Pete and Pete looks at Grant. He's like, I got the itch, I want to see some raw talent or something along those lines. And so Pete Vargas stands up and he turns and he looks and he makes eye contact with me. And I was like, and he was like, can you bring it like you brought it this morning? And I was like, you bitch. I was like, you know it, or something like that, something like that. So I clicked into boss mode. Okay. So first of all, no, not first of all. I clicked into boss mode. So I stood up and I walked straight up to Grant Cardone and I stuck up my hand. I said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Cardone. It's nice to meet you." Then I did the same for his wife. Good afternoon, Elena. It's nice to meet you. Thank you, Pete, for this second opportunity. So I walk around, I grab the microphone, and holy shit balls, I'm on the stage with the mic in front of Grant and Elena Cardone and Pete Vargas for yet another opportunity to speak to the masses at GrowthCon, which is the world's largest business conference in Las Vegas, Nevada, coming up in a few months. I was getting a third opportunity to speak at this point. So I just went for it. I said, okay. And I had the mic in my hand. I said, okay, guys, because all my former, like all the other contestants or whatever are in the room. And so they had seen me and they knew that my hook was an orgasm. So, okay, guys, I'm going to do it. I need you to imagine an orgasm. The building, and then I went into it. It was amazing. It was amazing. I landed it 100% aligned with what I wanted. I basically spoke of the power of our voice. And it's a wonderful message, but it was a message that I created just for the 10X stage, just for GrowthCon. And so I'll give you the cliff notes or the high points of it, but I'm not going to re-preach the message. Because as you know, if you're an instrument and there are times that you channel, yes, you do. But that message for that those people for that time, for that just that situation, that container. But the message for this audience was you create as you speak. Your words have power. When your energy is in alignment, the frequency of that energy of your thoughts and your emotions when combined really runs really hot, a lot like foreplay, and has the potential, excuse me, congestion, has the potential to create realities. And I talked about that. Did you know that abracadabra means I create as I speak? And so I opened up with faking the orgasm. And I talked about how when I did that, some people were shocked, amused, maybe aroused, but they were stimulated and they noticed. And I got phenomenal feedback. But the point that I was making was that what we say has the power to create a reality because it does. Which brings me to, I didn't make it. They loved my talk, but I didn't have a hard call to action because that's not why I was there. I had withdrawn my heart, and so I think my energy shifted a bit, and that's fine. Because I walked in there wanting and knowing I was going to win. And I think even if I had made it to the top three, the way that we had to follow a structure, I love it, but it's not how I communicate. It's not how I need it or how I feel called to communicate. So for me, what's next is I'm going to keep on keeping on. I'm going to keep on communicating. All of my eggs were not in that basket. I just kept going because I kept passing to the next level. However, that again has given me the opportunity to refine who I am and refine my voice. Who I am is a conscious being. And I have been called, and this is so like feels out of left field, but it's not. It's actually been my path the whole time. And I've mentioned it on here. But speaking of divine love, when you know yourself, and I'm talking gnosis, supreme knowing of yourself and who you are, and you reintegrate all of the disintegrated parts of yourself at the original fall of man, right? When you understand and when you reconcile and when you heal yourself, you magnetize your counterpart. Or you like are magnetized too. There's an energetic duality that we're going to talk about. I think I'm going to dig into that. I think that's going to be like the way is seeing how knowing yourself and really truly knowing who you are. So it starts with self-awareness, self-love, and then esoteric, energetic, spiritual, like boom, understanding who you actually are. That's my message. And conveying that has been the attempts of humanity since forever, and we're here now to the point where we have the cognitive capacity to do it. And so I've had a whole lot of like little pots on the burners bubbling because I have so many ideas that were just on pause while I went and I kind of like sold my royal oats as far as like the old school way or the traditional efforting way of creating a speaking like persona. And so I believe and I live via energy. And so what's next is just really that divine love. I got my notes here because I don't want to like go off topic, but divine love and then ascension coach because the way that I express my energy, it magnetizes people to me. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that's not said with ego because Lord knows I've had 8,000 teachers and I'm still having teachers because we're all in this together. And I have to tell you about a vision I had today. I'll get there. I have notes for it, but I promise I'll tell you about that vision because it matters. So yes, Ascension Coach, and then also my book. So my goal for February is to like I just keep changing the orientation of this book. So I'm gonna kind of click back over to that since the speaking gig has just done what it's done, and I've learned what I needed to learn, and it will come back. It'll always come back. So there's that. And then also facilitation. I just kicked my desk, but facilitation of a lot of these concepts that really still drive home the point of self-awareness. I got to see plenty of opportunity for people engaging with feedback. Public speaking is literally the number one fear that people have. But yet, when you're becoming a speaker or curating your voice or honing your craft or creating that stage master, that stage would just stage Why can't I say that word? Wizardry. Being a wizard on stage is what I was trying to say, but it just didn't come out right. Anyway, when you're doing all that, there's certainly help and things that are needed and necessary, but there's a lot of feedback. And so you have to be able to receive feedback and figure out and weigh it against who you know yourself to be, which will obliterate, if I said that right, imposter syndrome, which is the antithesis to self-awareness. So I'm going to speak on feedback and I'm going to teach on that and I'm going to host a class and all of these things. And I feel really excited about that because less of a speaker, more of a teacher. I have always been a teacher. I'm one of my state's top rated facilitators. Well, was. I'm no longer affiliated with the state as far as employee goes. But I learned so much and I learned how to communicate and I learned how to give and receive feedback in a way that was building and enlightening and encouraging and actually liberating for the person giving and receiving it because we're meant to communicate. We're meant to be in connection. So, anyway, speaking, teaching, and then and this is my wild card. And you guys know it, but let me be dramatic. Astrology, divine astrology. And so my goals are to like just dive into that. And it's very much intuitive. It's an intuitive gift that I've been given, but I'm wanting to learn, because it's God's language. And so I have a note somewhere. I don't know where I scribbled it down, but it was basically God told me one time, like it was a meditation. It was just like that Zen moment of 0 point. And I got the message of what was it? So dramatic. It was, oh, God said, I created the stars. And the wise men, all, no, that's what it was. Man wrote the Bible, but I created the stars. And the wise men always did look up. So I think I might take that and like tagline it or something like that. But man wrote the Bible, but God created the stars. So anyway, I mean, we could go far, far, far with that. But that's my thing. I'm rambling now. So that's my update. I'm going to turn around, I think, and go ahead and give you a blog post as well. I just have a lot to say. And I think for me, it's less about, oh gosh, it's less about what I'm saying and just as long as I'm keeping the channel open. So thank you for being with me as I hone my voice, as I bring just these energies. Oh, the vision, the vision, the vision, the vision. Oh, it's so beautiful. I'm not sure how long we've gone, so we're just going to keep going. So let me tell you about this vision. It was today in meditation. And the way, good Lord, the way I meditate sometimes, if I'm not doing like a guided meditation, is I'll just turn on wordless music that I don't know and then drop in and just kind of let myself be there. Sometimes I'll ask myself, what's my intention? Or sometimes I'll come with something just on my heart and lay it out. So today I just came blank. And I sat in and I saw, and I'm going to close my eyes so I can see it again. But it was like the person, almost like think of like our spine or just like something representing us as a person. And it was gears. So a whole bunch of gears that were layered on top of each other and they were all turning and like all these things. Well, you know how gears have teeth and they interact. Well, as this like rod of gears was like turning, it was a person and it was the collective, but this is kind of like how we do. I still have notes from it. Um, as those nooks and crannies kind of spin, like that's our life, right? And like everything's spinning right here. And what happens is we see those as our needs. So we have the teeth open and there's gaps here that need to be filled on like who we are. So if you can imagine this thing, we all have these like gaps. Well, as we allow ourselves to release the idea that we are in need, when we release the idea that we're in need, we see ourselves as abundant. And as we're able to live from that place of havingness, of beingness, of knowingness, of knowing that we are just one facet of a huge connected paradigm, that we are all, I am you and you are me, right? We are all connected in a shared consciousness. These like puzzle pieces are magnetized to you to fill up every little nook and cranny in who you are. And it's a conscious decision that you make to become whole again by consciously intending and knowing, trusting and believing, taking inspired action as it comes, and then allowing yourself to be sustained and satisfied. And it was a vision that, I don't know, I mean, I'll say it a couple of different times. It'll come back up, I know, in conversation. But then my notes right here say, from having this first, you affect duality. So when you come from having, from being, from knowing that you are in a dimension of duality, but yet you rise above that. You understand that you are already abundant. You are everything. There is no separation. There is no veil. There is no conscious and subconscious from higher dimensions, from the fifth dimension. And so when you operate from there, you understand that it's just you. You're not dual, you're uni. You're not duality. You're not good and bad, light and dark, not having. You are everything. You have it all. You, uni, singular. You and I inverse. Everything inside of me is what's being reflected and projected out. This is you inverse. This is you inversely. The universe. The you and I inverse. It's a mirrored reality. It's a dimensional matrix that we've created, that's been created, and we get to peel back the layer that's prevented us from knowing this. And so that's what the awakening is. And it takes time. You cannot run into running. You must first stand or even know that you're not walking. So I think I'm going to land the plane there because that one felt a little weighty. One more thing. I'd just like to talk. Light language. I was in a hotel room on the way to Miami. I was probably somewhere in like Mississippi. I don't know, wherever I stopped. And good Lord, I had this like sensation in my tummy, like butterflies. And then all of a sudden I just started like making sounds. And I was given the message that those sounds are light language, that basically sometimes we get to the top of our psyche, our conscious awareness, and then we want to go a little bit higher. But if we use words, it keeps us weighted because words are of this dimension. And so lighter, language from the light, enlightened frequencies was coming out of me. And so I can't fake it. I'm not going to try to fake it because it would sound stupid because there's no energetic charge to it. But it was such a beautiful moment that I actually like my body started crying. And again, this was after the activation in Vegas. This is after being sick. I was completely fine, but yet I was walking into yet another activation in knowing who I am and knowing who I'm not. And so I got tremendous clarity about love, about life, about my calling, and partnership. So anyway, that's it. I'm gonna record a guided meditation at some point, and that's gonna be just beautiful. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for the update. It's my intention to create a regular recording schedule. But when you're, I still have a little congestion. I know you hear it when I like take a deep breath, but I'm learning to be more and more intuitive. And so my Capricorn sun wants to like structure, and I'm going to post every day at 3 p.m. No, no, I'm not. I know myself. So I will post when I post. I will blog when I blog. I will speak when I speak. And I love you, and create a cool tagline. Tagline. All right. Bye.